You are listening to the Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning Wildcat Radio Coaches Show.
Two receivers to the right, two to the left. Straight give right up the middle, and Cam Smith has tons of He's gone to the house. 50 to the 45 to 40. Cam Smith down the sideline, one man to beat, and he's going to do it. 80 yards. It's just less than 30 seconds for the Wildcats to get back on the board as Cam Smith goes 80 yards, and the Wildcats regain the lead. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Baker County Wildcat Radio Coaches Show. I'm Mike Cruz, joined as always by the head coach of the Baker County Wildcats, Kevin Mays, and we're excited to be here in 2023 talking about Baker County Wildcat football, and looking forward to a great show and a great season with Coach Kevin Mays and all things Baker County Wildcats. And Coach, I had a chance to come over and meet with you today and talk about Wildcat football. It's our first show this year, the first whatever you want to call it, the first rendition of our coaches show. And want to thank Oscar Gray and the fine folks down there at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning for making our coaches show possible every year. And honestly, Coach, it's the one time during the week, every week, when I'm just able to sit back and talk football with somebody during work hours. So I appreciate the chance to get together with you.
Nope, no problem. It's good to be back, get on the radio with you, let everybody know what's going on with the Wildcats. Obviously, we've taken a couple hits, but obviously good win on Friday night, and hopefully that'll get us steamrolling through the rest of the schedule.
Well, it's one of the things we talk about every year, important wins, big games, things you learn throughout the year. We'll talk about all that today, but most importantly, I walked around this weekend and the outside air feels good. It's a great time of year, right?
Oh, it was. You walked outside today. Humidity was down. What temperature was down? It's been tough out there on us. We started July 31st as far as real practice goes, and it's been tough on us. First time in my coaching career that we've been run off the field off the wet bulb, which is a humidity temperature thing that we have to use. And first time we've had to, it was too hot, couldn't be outside. We were lucky enough to be able to come in the gym, but times are changing, I guess.
Yeah, I've never been one of the big, climate change advocates, and that's not even a discussion we want to get into. It's too politically motivated these days. But honestly, this year, I'm a 50-year-old guy, and I got to tell you, it's one of the hardest years that I can remember in terms of just walking outside and the heat just overwhelming you. And I know for people that work outside every day, this has got to be a tough one. And then you think about football practice and the pads and everything else. It's been tough. So across the board, I know that everyone's kind of welcoming the 80, 85, 86 degree days, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. 88, cool day today. 88
yeah,
degrees.
It's cool.
So. But yeah, it does feel nice out today. Considering just came inside and like I said, I think it said 86 in the car and humidity's down. It feels good.
Yeah, somebody texted me and said, "How are you feeling about the cool weather today?" And I'm like, and honestly, it's funny because compared to the way it felt during July and August, it does feel kind of cool outside. But I gotta tell you, throughout the years and being a football fan like I am, and being a football fan like I know you are, and a coach as well. In Florida, at least, from the late September days to the late December days, those are just the best days to be in Florida to me. I mean, the weather's great. If you still want to go to the beach, you still can, because the water's not going to get cold until way later in the year. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, just the early mornings being in the low 60s and the afternoons being in the low 80s. I mean, you can't ask for better weather, and we get to experience that from really right now all the way till the end of December, and looking forward to those kind of days, and I know you are as well. So, speaking of that, though, that first run of games always in the state of Florida, it seems like without skipping a beat, it seems like we always get impacted by some sort of storm, some sort of hurricane, some sort of something that's always impacting our area during this time of year. I remember games that kickoff classic games and first games of the year where we've had lightning delays that lasted an hour or 2 hours, and we had to wait those out. And this year we were no stranger to that. So we started out with Lake Butler. We hosted Lake Butler here in the kickoff classic, and then we had a chance to travel over to Bradford, who I think, as of last week, I think is still undefeated. Bradford team we faced that we faced in the third round of the playoffs last year, a chance for both of us to head to the state Final Four, and Bradford got that win, went on to face Cocoa Beach. And then we made the trip up to Glen Academy in Brunswick last year. That was a Saturday game. This year we played it on a Thursday night. But in between there, we had an Oakleaf game. We hosted Oakleaf last year, had a chance to travel there this year. We didn't get to do that because of the hurricane that blew through that week. And, it seems like every year there's something that impacts the game. If you just had to stop right now and put a grade on what's happened, wins and losses aside, of course you learn a lot through those games. How do you feel the team has come through these first 3 or 4 games, and what's your outlook at this point in time, just in terms of an overall report?
Like you say, you don't always want to look backwards, but it is part of what we have to do as coaches. And I felt good after the Lake Butler game. You saw some things, and then you go into Bradford, and they are a really good team. Had a strong defense, and so you kind of question yourself. Were they good? Were we not that good? Where was it? So then we get into then the hurricane comes through, and we weren't allowed to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I didn't think it was a smart decision for me to go play Oakleaf at that time.
Yeah.
And so we missed that game, and then we go. Especially having to turn around and play on Thursday to go to Glen Academy. We go up there, and the most disappointing thing about that game to me is we really should have won that game. We shot ourselves in the foot with penalties, snaps, guys getting hurt, and you start questioning yourself when you look at that. And then you come into a good Baldwin week, and it came down to the last minute, and we all feel good that a win's a win, but we still got a lot of stuff that we can improve on. Injuries are killing us right now. Maybe the worst run of injuries I've ever had as in 27 years. It's bad right now. Quarterback goes out. Our 2 starting guards were out. We have another young player that maybe got hurt Friday, and it's between JV and varsity. Like I said, it's probably the worst run of injuries I've had. But considering all that, to see that we came out with Baldwin and that we were able to fight, you go look at Glen Academy, even go back to that game, we were down 20 points, came back, could have won that game. And the kids showed a lot of fight. Come back this week, Baldwin team that's very athletic. We struggled the whole game, and at the end of the game, we were able to pull it out. And you put that on these kids being able to fight, and some kids stepping up and making big plays when it was important. We had a good touchdown catch by Connor Bearden, and then Benny Lewis made what was obviously the game-winning run, but one of the better runs I've seen as a coach. I mean, he took the whole team, Baldwin defense, for a ride. So you look forward, and it wasn't necessarily purposely done, but to me, when you build your schedule, you always want to test yourself early. I just didn't know the test. When you make that schedule 2.5 years ago, you don't know where those schools are going to line up and be as good as they were. So it was as tough as it was probably a tougher schedule than I wanted to start out, especially with a younger team, because we are playing a lot of young guys. But, looking forward, if we can get some of these guys to, come back, because they're not necessarily season-ending injuries, but there are some that have a chance to come back. And if they can come back and help us, then, we can make a run and end up still, with a good record, get to the playoffs and go from there.
Yeah, exciting game Friday night over at Baldwin, and it's crazy to think the Baldwin team has really been able to gather some really good talent over there the last several years, and it's funny to think in the district that we play in now, Baldwin's probably our big rival.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was funny because I have a guy that goes upstairs and puts a headset on for me to let me know, to kind of helps me upstairs with an eye in the sky type thing. And he made fun of me last year saying, "Oh, you lost to Baldwin. He played here."
Yeah.
And I asked him Friday night. I said, "Hey, is this the same Baldwin team you guys used to play?" He goes, "No, Coach." He goes, "These kids don't look nothing like the Baldwin we used to play."
Yeah.
And they're not. And I don't know. They trying to create some diversity there, from what I've been told, and the bus routes coming in from the west side somewhere. But they got some good players there, and it's not the Baldwin I've heard of in the past.
Yeah, and that's no knock on anybody that went to Baldwin, but Baldwin historically a very small school, a small pool of kids to pull from, and nowadays with the rules being the way they are, and they are a Duval County school, so they can pull kids basically from anywhere, right? I mean,
and they can pull kids from anywhere, and it's a different conversation as far as I got, as far as them being able to be in the suburban and metro, and that's not their Baldwin's fault whatsoever. It's just FHSA. If you're gonna put the rules down, let's kind of go with them. But they're in our district, and I would. They've become, in my short time here, they've become a rival right down the road.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I talked to somebody about this just the other day. In the 26, 27 years I've been doing Wildcat football, our district has. Yeah, I guess every 2 years the district alignment is set, and our district has run the gamut, man. We've had district years where we had bowls in our district, and then we've had district years where it was Bishop Kenny and a lot of the schools on the south side of Jacksonville. And then we've had district years where it was Live Oak and the teams out west, and so it just has varied so much. But with the metro and suburban change, I would estimate that our district probably won't change much the next time that they revisit this.
I wouldn't think so, because they're going to have to put the Nassau schools with us, so I would think they probably would be similar. Our numbers haven't changed that much, and I don't know. I mean, Nassau County, when you get up to the Yulee, Fernandina area, looks like it's growing crazy. Maybe they get a little bigger, I don't know, but I would think it probably stays the same as long as they keep the same classification the way they're doing it.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why, Bradford Stark used to be one of our big rivalries, and they still are. To this day, people in the community at least will always consider Bradford a big rival, just because back in the old days, that was back in the old one man wins the district and goes to the playoff days. That was when Stark and Baker had such intense games that happened, and the only team that was making it to the playoffs was the team that won the district at that time. But things have changed over the time now, and you get more teams in, and so you've got a better opportunity, but things have changed. But our district, if you just look at it from the outside looking in, Baldwin, West Nassau, Fernandina Beach, Yulee, all basically Nassau County flavor, with the exception of Baldwin and Baker County. So we'll have some work to do ahead of us, getting to play Yulee again this year, getting them at home. We'll have some work to do going on the road against Fernandina Beach later in the year, and then of course West Nassau. West Nassau, no matter what their record is, they'll always have a tough physical style of play. But with a 1-0 record against Baldwin this past Friday night, now even though the record overall is 1-2, doesn't matter, right? I mean, your future's ahead of you in terms of winning a district. So even with the way that the playoffs are done now, if you win the district, you automatically qualify.
Yep. We and I've told the kids, you circle those games when we talk about them at the beginning of the year. Of course you have the Bradford game that everybody gets excited about, but the games that get you into the playoffs are those four. And to be 1-0 is where it's what we talked about Friday. Let's at least be 1-0 in the district, and then control yourself. And if you don't win the district, you got to go. For everybody that doesn't know, it comes down to a ranking system. The one thing we have going on for us right now is, if you go on the strength of schedule and look at it, I think there's only two teams that got a stronger schedule than us in 2S up to this point. Now there are some teams coming up on the schedule that'll bring our strength of schedule down some, but we're still up there, and the points and rankings haven't come out yet. But if you go off max preps, we're still sitting in a pretty good spot, even though we are 1-2. But like I said, hopefully we get some guys back healthy, get these young guys that are playing. You get more experience. I mean, you go back and look the other night. I mean, just for a couple names. I mean, we are starting right guard and tackle. We're 10th graders, and we had a 10th grader and a 9th grader that made big catches in the final drive to do, to help us get to a point where we could run the ball in and win. And we, offensively, we graduated 10 guys, and we just haven't found ourselves yet. We're trying to find anything we can do to get it going. We just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, that's probably one of the things that I look at just from the casual observer perspective. And great segue, by the way, because I was just about to ask you about the youth on the football team, because there is a lot of it. But the one thing that you don't have this year that we have had before, no knock on the guys we've got here, Cam Smith.
We don't have a guy.
He was a breakaway guy, and he could be gone at any moment, and we don't seem to have that same thing this year.
Andrew Bloodsaw and Chase Phillips, the young guys that we're talking about, they have breakaway speed, but again, they're 9th and 10th graders. Now you say that, Chase made a real big catch in the game Friday, and then Bloodsaw made a really big catch on Friday. But their knowledge of plays and what we need them to do and everything isn't right where you want it, where you would like it to be. But we've gotten down to a point now with it where we're at that we got to use those young guys. I mean, you look at Tay Walker outside; he's a 10th grader. He's an outside receiver, and then we've offensive line. We've the only guy that's really played offensive line that has experience playing from last year is Nathan Crawford. Everybody else is either young or there was a guy in front of him last year. We're stuck now with, and it's stuck, I shouldn't say it like that because he's done a good job, but Mekhi Mosley, quarterback, hasn't taken a lot of reps.
Yeah, sure.
You get Kanias back, but he's coming off ACO injury. Jaden Wilcox coming off ACO injury. And then Benny Lewis, who's been a good addition to the team. Still, trying to figure out his things, where he fits and what he does. And, you look at all that from the offensive side, and we just, until we figure it out, we're probably going to win games 12-7.
Well, some of the people who like and appreciate good defense are okay with that. And you mentioned Mekhi Mosley, so I'll bring it up. I tell you what, man, you talk about stars on the football team. Mekhi Mosley has had to step up and be put into a position now that he wasn't expecting to before the year with the injuries that have occurred and everything else. But I got to tell you, if you watch the football games, on the defensive side of the ball, Mekhi Mosley's name, we've called it a bunch of times this year. On the offensive side of the ball, he really came in that Glenn Academy game and gave the Wildcats a chance to win. Some really nice throws. And like you say, he wasn't asked. He didn't ask to be put in that position, but he has been, and I think he's responded incredibly well.
No, he's done great, and we've seen a little spark in him now that he's. I don't know. I can't tell you that he wants to play quarterback, but you see a little spark in him about playing quarterback. He came to me at halftime, and we were talking, and Mekhi hadn't really done that before, as far as here's this and that, but. For an offensive side, he's done good. Defense, he is the quarterback of the defense, and you said it. The defense has played great. I mean, we've got a that is where our experience is at. But you still look at those guys. Most of those guys are underclassmen too. I mean, but they have played really good across the board. And you can get into all the names that are over there. But those guys, they play as a unit. They trust each other, and they're giving us They're giving us a chance to obviously win on Friday night, but they gave us a chance to win the couple games before that too. It's so I'm really proud of what those guys are doing. And like I said, not that I'm not proud of the offense. We got to figure things out still.
Yeah, no, and I don't have the sheet in front of me with junior, senior, sophomore, whatever's on there, but I did want to shout out some of the names of those guys on defense because, man, every week we're calling names like Seth Chestnut, and we're calling names like Phillip Jackson, and we're calling names Cale Cruz, Case Foster. I know those guys are young, and then
you got
Hudson Register.
I can run Register. Gavin Mosley's young underclassman. Rhett Roden's getting back there. He's a young guy. The defensive line up front. We got Tyreek Bertram back the other day. He's a younger guy. Jeremiah Mitchell's a younger guy. You don't have many seniors over there. You got Tucker Thrift playing really good. He's a senior. He is a senior.
Calling his name a lot.
Ray Henderson, he is a senior. Kai Bishop's a senior, and these are on the D line. But the back half of the defense, most of them come back, really, except Mekhi. So defense is set for a little bit, and it's good to have those guys. And they challenge us every day at practice. They obviously they make us better. On the offensive side.
Well, as you work to as you work to find things on offense, it's nice to know that your defense is playing well and giving you a chance to win in every game. Because honestly, 1-2 record, you're sitting here, something goes right here and there against Bradford, you can win that game. It's only a 2-touchdown game, and one of those
it was really two plays.
Yeah,
big plays.
they ran a kickoff back, and they did that against us last year, Coach.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, and same thing when we played them last year in the playoffs. Not the first game, that was rain shortened, but the playoff game, they hit big plays. And in a high school game, that's those things come back to bite you. But if you just look at the score, the Glenn Academy game was a 1-score game, the Bradford game was a 2-score game, and then Friday night against Baldwin it went our way, but it's a 1-score game. So having a defense that's able to play the way that your team's able to play, and knowing that some of those guys are just going to get better and better and come back next year for this team, and you got a chance to win this year as far as what's happening with the district, got to be kind of exciting, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, and me included, you look at the record 1-2, that's not good, but, I'm not going to sit here and say it so they can use it as bulletin board material, but you look at the rest of the schedule, I mean, we could be 7-2 at the end of the year, rolling into the playoffs with what would that be, a six game winning streak, and that's not inconceivable that we can't do that. So we still have a really good year, and then get into the playoffs and see what happens. And if you only win the 4 district games and get into the playoffs, you still get a chance to see what happens. So, it's we're looking forward to it.
So basically, schedule-wise, the Wildcats will host Vieira this week, and
we are playing Vieira. Just not to cut you off, but I've had a lot of questions about people who thought that Vieira just dismantled.
I got you.
Football in general because of some of their issues. But we're definitely playing Vieira this week, so they'll be here 7:00 Friday.
Yeah, I had not heard that they dismantled. I know there had been some issues down in Brevard County with
they did miss their first game.
Okay.
And I want to say somebody put it out somewhere that they had canceled football. And I think it spread around here a little bit.
That's not the case.
No.
Vieira will be here, and we'll have a chance to face them. Chance for you to talk with old people that you used to coach with down in Vieira, maybe?
There's not many there anymore, really.
Changing of the guard?
Yep, this was this was a schedule that was set up 3 years ago, actually, with the good friend of mine that became the head coach. There, and we had said that we would do this for 3 years because, like you said, next year we reschedule everything again. But they'll be here. I mean, of course, you'll know some people, and there were some kids there. I used to have a youth camp down there. It'll be some of the kids that I'll still recognize that have grown up, but it'll be a different kind of football than what you've seen the last few weeks because they're going to throw it 7, 8 out of 10 plays.
Yeah. Well, the good news for the Wildcats, really, 4 of the next 5 games you get to come back home now because we went to Bradford, we went to Brunswick for the Glenn Academy game, and had to play at Baldwin. It's not that far down the road, but it's still not your home stadium. So 4 of the next 5 games at home for the Cats. So that's an exciting part. Just speaking in terms of the overall schedule and where we're at, Oakleaf, the game that we had to cancel, that will not be rescheduled, right?
Not as of right now, no.
Okay.
And it was, scheduling, when you make a schedule, you make it for 2 years, and it's supposed to be home and away. It's supposed to be done. So we played Sun Lake last year, and just so people know why our schedule got changed up, Sun Lake called us and said they weren't coming. You used to not be able to do that, but they did it. So I got on the horn. Obviously wanted to keep week 7 as a bye just so that we had a break in the season. Maybe let kids heal up, whatever we needed to do. So I found a team, Lake Highland Prep. And Lake Highland Prep, I don't know what happened there, but I called down there when they said they didn't think they could come. They had like 30 kids transfer out of that school and went back to their regular home schools. So that left, a void that we had to fill, and we were just lucky enough, I guess, and I wasn't going to sit because if you wait around too long, then you're playing the American Heritage, St. Thomas Aquinas. That's who's left out there. I got lucky, I guess, and found Quincy Monroe for week 7, which was our bye week. And so now we don't have a bye during the season, which would be tough to fill anybody in at that point. But our bye week's actually week 11. It's not what I want, but it's how it worked out. And like I said, you used to not be able to cancel games like that, but it seems to happen all the time anymore.
Well, we could get a group of kids from Jackie Baker's Wildcat youth team, and we can just have a little scrimmage there at the end of during the bye week and see how that goes.
obviously our goal is to get into the playoffs and then see what can happen. And bye weeks like that can either kill momentum or they can let kids heal up. So
yeah. I've seen both, right?
Yeah.
You've seen both. If a team gets hot toward the end of the year, the one thing you want to do is keep playing.
Yeah.
And then you've seen years where you're like, oh man, we really need that week off so some guys can get better, you know.
Yeah.
And typically, especially if you go in as a district champion, that first round playoff game should be a game that you're favored in. So
well, they've kind of changed it from so their district champion gets in, but then they kind of reseed it. You could still, even as a district champion, used to be able to host. We could still have to travel that first round even as a host because they still reseed it 1 to 8 off your ranking.
Oh wow.
You used to district champion used to always get the host, but it happened like that in volleyball. We were district champs and we had to go to Bishop Kenny, I think, because they were district champs, but it's just the way the seeding worked out.
Wow.
So,
well, Coach, just looking at the schedule, we've got Vieira at home this week, and then next week we'll travel over to West Nassau to face the West Nassau Warriors, and then we'll come back home.
Yep.
You mentioned Monroe, so Quincy Monroe will be here the week of October 6th, first game in October, and then 2 more home games against Yulee and Jackson before traveling to Fernandina Beach to close out the season. So, of note for Wildcat fans, the district contest there will be the West Nassau game, the Fernandina Beach game, and of course the Yulee game, which Yulee is a team we had to play twice last year. We played them in the regular season and the playoffs. We played Baldwin in the regular season and the playoffs, and we played Bradford regular season and the playoffs. So, well, Bradford would have been kickoff classic, I guess, technically, but in either event, chance to look at some very familiar teams that we faced a couple of times last year. We got the win against Baldwin, so 1-0 in the district, and looking ahead, some good nights ahead in Memorial Stadium. So that's a positive.
yeah, and I caught a little bit of slack at the beginning of the year just with the amount of away games we had at the front. But what really screwed that up was the Brunswick game. All the kids wanted to go back there just to play in that venue, and they take good care of them and give them shirts and all kinds of stuff that they get. So that kind of screwed our schedule up a little bit. So that it did turn things around to where our home games are all at the end of the year, which will be good to be back at Memorial Stadium for the short ride over there compared to these longer rides.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to Brunswick too. I mean, we had all the popcorn we could eat in the press box, so I like it.
That little VIP thing they have for you, from what I hear, I haven't been up there
nice.
yet, but it's
very nice.
They say they do a nice job with that, and kids like that stadium and big jumbotron and the lights that flicker, and they like all that stuff.
I think the thing that probably I was impressed with more so than anything was just the amount of history and the amount of people, I guess, that I didn't realize had come through that Brunswick Glen Academy Brunswick High program. When you went into the VIP lounge area that we were in, I mean, they had the golf bags in there from Brent Snedeker and from Davis Love III, and then you see the pictures and the jerseys that they had framed and signed from all the guys that had played either at Brunswick High or Glen Academy. I was just blown away by the number of guys that had come through there, and obviously they're funneling money back into the programs and the schools because of that venue and things like that. So that part was exciting for me. And the game came down to the wire, so that was exciting as well.
I have a lot of people ask why we can't do it. Well, everybody know if you know someone's got 8 to 10 million, we'll try to make that happen.
It's a lot.
It's a nice place.
I don't think I hear those things too, and honestly, the amount of money that gets funneled into places like that is it's not just grant money. It's not just little pieces here and there. I mean, there's plenty of wealthy people in McClenny, but you're talking about money that's coming from NFL players, pro golfers. I mean, that's big money. It's big money. And that's a bigger area too, You're talking about all the way from Sea Island, Georgia to Brunswick and all those guys that made that possible. But it was very interesting to see the guys that had come through there. Darius Slay, his jersey was on the wall up there. You had one of the pitchers. I'm trying to remember the pitcher from the St. Louis Cardinals. His name escapes me right now, but it was really cool.
2 years ago, we had you got to walk through that whole place. We got to they had a media thing up there, and neat the way it sits there, and it sits there, and their business offices overlook the field too, and then you got the VIP stuff. They did a good job designing that. It was, but the kids love going there. Kids love playing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the atmosphere was great. The atmosphere was great for a high school game, and it's. I think when you go back to the comment about people think that we should do that here, I think it's an interesting look when you look at the difference between a lot of these high schools and places that they play in Georgia versus places that they play in Florida. There's big difference.
Yep, there is.
Yeah, big difference.
And I talked with Jamie when he was doing the stuff at Cook County.
Yeah.
And they just got a different way from basically what he understood. They just got a different way. If they want something, the public can put it on ballot and they vote for it. And if it passes, that money gets pushed towards that specific thing. He says it's actually a pretty easy process. It just here, I guess it's not that easy. In Florida,
not the same in Florida for sure. And we could probably have a whole show just dedicated to that conversation, but we won't.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, just talk to me a little bit about the balance between heading up all the athletic programs and being the athletic director and trying to focus your needs on football. Have you gotten into a routine now?
Yeah, it's if you take my only day off, I guess you would say it'd be Saturday. We don't do anything on Saturday, but we come in here football only. You would say Sundays for however long that takes, just to get game plans ready and be ready to go for the week. Mondays we come in and I usually spend, I don't know, and you're talking officials, buses, coaches, needs, just any of that kind of stuff as far as AD. I spend my morning time doing that. Probably the first three and a half hours doing that, and then I got lunch duty that I do for an hour and a half. And then when I come back from that, you kind of turn into football coach during sixth period, and then the kids are here seventh period. So I've got it to a pretty good routine as far as handling everything. It's tough for me to get out and watch some of the fall sports like I get to do in the winter and in the spring, just because it is so football heavy for me.
Yeah.
I want to get out and be able to watch volleyball, and you got volleyball going on, swimming and cross country, and I don't get to see them as much as I do in the other times, just because I am the football coach at this time. So I can't say it's always easy, because there are some times at practice where something will fall apart and I have to have my phone on me and answer some of those calls. But they know not to call me unless it's important. But when they do call, I know it's important.
Yeah, you got to take the call.
So it has interrupted things every once in a while, but for the most part, I think I got a pretty good routine right now.
Well, I got to tell you, the volleyball team's 7-0.
Yep.
And I understand they've got a big one with bowls here in the gym tomorrow night.
Yep, they do. Bowls is coming here, and Coach Ashley's doing a great job with those girls, and she's been excited about this team all summer.
Yeah.
Just with some of the leadership that she has on that team. She's been looking forward to this whole season. So yeah, if you guys don't have nothing to do, make sure you come out tomorrow night. It should be a good game between us and Bowls.
Yeah, volleyball is a great sport, fun to watch, and I know there's a lot of those young ladies on that volleyball team excited about the year so far. 7-0, a couple big games this week, as I understand it. Obviously, Bowls coming in tomorrow night. I had a chance yesterday. You talk about these fall sports. And volleyball is probably one of those sports that gets overlooked a lot. But just down the road in Gainesville, the Florida Gator volleyball teams had one of the best women's volleyball teams for years and years and years, and they played number 1 Wisconsin yesterday, and I was watching it yesterday afternoon. That thing went to 5 sets, and if you know anything about volleyball, Florida won the first 2 sets. Wisconsin, the number 1 team in the country, won the last 3, and that was just
it came back on them, huh?
Down to the wire. Yeah.
It's give a shout out to those other guys too. Just like for the week, we got volleyball plays West Nassau on Thursday. JV football goes to Union on Thursday. Swimming's here against Columbia on Thursday. So a lot of stuff going on Thursday. And then cross country, Coach Loki and them, most of their low invitational things are always on the weekend. So they go into an invitational at Bartram Trail on Saturday morning. And, we've done, the fall sports are they're all holding their own, I guess you'd say. Obviously, volleyball's doing really well. But we had pretty good, overall last year. We haven't had a talk since then. Overall last year, we had a lot of district champions, and we had a good year last year athletically as a whole. If you go back and look at the district champs and the teams that made it in the playoffs, and it was a good year last year. And hopefully we can we've got this year started and can finish off like we did last year.
Well, it's amazing how fast you transition from summer to going back to school to all of a sudden just being in the mix of having everything going on. So I know that's a lot to juggle for you, but congratulations on the win Friday night, being 1-0 in the district for the Wildcats, and I'm looking forward to Friday night back at Memorial Stadium, Coach.
We'll be there. We'll be there ready to go. It'll be a different test for us because this team throws the ball more. They probably throw the ball more than all the other teams we played so far combined. So it'll be a different test for us.
Looking forward to seeing the Wildcats back in action Friday night, Coach. I want to thank again Oscar Gray and Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning and the folks down at Glen Baptist Church for keeping Wildcat football on the radio. And I sat here with you a year ago thinking I wouldn't be here again, and here we are.
Here we are. Keep on going. Yeah. We appreciate that. You guys coming back, and we'll keep it rolling.
We'll just keep it rolling, and we'll just keep doing it and keep talking football as long as we can. And I enjoy the opportunity to spend some time talking with you. And best of luck Friday night. We're looking for those Wildcats to come out and be excited to play in front of the home crowd. And great time of year as always. And
good weather.
Good weather. And
I just looked, high at 81.
I actually get to talk about the Gators winning a game during our halftime show coming up Friday night, so I won't miss that.
That was kind of surprised to me.
I haven't had that opportunity much in the last couple of years.
No, I'm just saying it was kind of surprised how good they looked good the other night. I don't know if you want to get into all that, but
yeah, we'll talk about it probably next week in the show.
Yeah.
But I picked Florida to cover the spread, which the spread had started out at like 7.5 points, and it whittled down to like 5.5. A lot of the money was leaning that way. So a lot of that had to do with past history, just the fact that Tennessee hadn't won in that environment and whatever else. So, you put a lot into that. I'm not sure I was confident they were going to win the game. I felt like going in it was going to be a close game, and probably had Tennessee been able to score a couple of times in the red zone in the second half, it would have been a lot closer. But big win for that program. Now, that doesn't mean they're gonna turn it around and win 10 games this year, but
we'll take it while you can get it.
Step in the right direction, right?
Yep.
Yeah. College football, we'll make that a topic for our show next week, and there will be a lot to talk about. Almost some big upsets this past weekend.
Yep.
Almost.
Yep.
But a lot to talk about there, Coach, and good time of year. Look forward to the game Friday night at 7 o'clock, Memorial Stadium. We'll be on the air here, 97.5 WFBB. We'll go on the air about 6:45 on Friday night, and look forward to calling the action, and hopefully the Wildcats can get the record of 2-2 this Friday against Vieira. And best of luck to you, Coach.
Thank you.
And as always, go Wildcats.